Hello, everybody. Today we are looking at a nice plan in the Pirc against the Pirc Defense. So this is for the white player. We're going to be taking a quick look at the Austrian attack. So this is good for aggressive players. So the Austrian attack would begin after e4, d6, initiating your Pirc Defense, d4, knight f6, attacking the e pawn, knight c3, g6, and then f4. This is known as the Austrian attack, and this is the most aggressive continuation in the Pirc's defense. And White's plan is very simple, and that's why I'm showing it today. White just plans to develop quickly by playing knight f3, bishop d3, and then castle. Sometimes white will castle on the queen side, but his main plan is quick development. Knight f3, bishop d3, castle, then play the advance e5, of course with the effect often of driving the defense of the king away, and then attacking viciously on the king side. Often there will be pawn storms with h4, h5, breaking open the king side. And so sometimes the white king is over there on the king side, and again sometimes the king will delay castling or even castle on the queen side. This line was very feared at one time, and it's basically the most direct attempt at refuting the opening altogether. As we know, the Pirc is not refuted, as far as I know, but it's definitely the most aggressive line, and it also was Bobby Fischer's favorite choice against the Pirc. Okay, and this plan by White is so strong that Black must be on point. Black must counterattack as soon as possible. Any slip up with Black by Black, he's usually going to lose the game very quickly. So just real briefly, I'm just going to speed through a few games just so you can get the general idea of the opening, and then go out and try it yourself. But again, this is a nice plan in the Pirc, very aggressive, and give it a try. So this first game is from 1889. And I'm showing you this real old school game because I'm going to show you games from different eras to show you that the plan is pretty much the same. This game is between Amos Byrne and Lewis Paulson with the black pieces. So here's our position at f4. And now Black played bishop g7, knight f3, castles, bishop e2, knight bd7, and now e5, knight e8, and h4. So here you can see Byrne delaying castling, so he can just rip open the king side. c5 from Paulson, trying to counterattack the white center immediately. h5, c takes d4, queen takes d4, d takes, f takes, and now knight d6, exploiting the pin, and just simply h takes g6, knight f5, g takes f7, g takes h7 stronger, but g takes f7 is okay. Rook takes, and now queen g4, attacking the knight. Knight f8, and bishop c4. And Black is already in serious trouble here. Bishop e6, knight g5, queen d4, and now White just simply goes into an advantageous ending here. Of course, knight takes e6 is good here also. Bishop d3, and now knight takes f7. And after a few tactical exchanges, you can see Black is just is worse here, and he just went on to lose this game. But I just wanted to show you the spirit of the opening in this setup and engineering this king side attack. So again, these are like rapid fire games, and this will get you to kind of get the gist of the opening rather quickly. Our next game is from Nuremberg, 1896, between Siegfried Tarrasch and Rudolf Scheruzek. This game started off d4, so it shows you there's some transpositional possibilities. d6, or known back then as the rat. e4, knight of 6, knight c3, and you can see we fully transposed into an e4 opening in the Pirc. There's our Austrian attack, bishop g7, knight of 3, same plan, castles, bishop e2. And here, white tries to exploit the fact that e4 kind of has limited protection here. So this is why perhaps bishop d3 might be a little better here. d5 is not really effective here because after e5 there's no option of jumping into this square. And then maybe after say knight c4 there h3, and black is a little bit worse. But bishop e2, you can see the e4 square may not be adequately protected, so Shiruzek plays d5 and e5 is played, but Shiruzek plays knight e8. Knight e4, white will still probably come out on top after this continuation. Knight g5, queen d5, because this pawn is hard to hang on to. For instance, c4, queen a5 check, and yeah, king f2, or even the queen d2 going into willing to go into an endgame is good, and this seems good for white. So he played knight e8 instead. Bishop e3, e6, and again you see this idea with the delaying of castling. h4 and knight c6. Now the reason why this move is bad is because it doesn't take into account what I said before, how black must immediately counterattack white center. Right, knight c6 is not strong enough. You definitely need a move that's going to try to stop white's plan. If black can't counterattack in the center, he must try to at least stop his advance on the queen on the king side, maybe h5 or something like that. After knight c6, white just goes on, about his business. h5, knight e7. Now g4, keeping the knight off f5. f5 is played, and white is like, so what? H takes g6, knight takes g6, bishop d3. Again, black is in dire straits here. g5, king h7, queen e2, desperately wishing to keep the position closed. Queen g2. Finally c5, but it's too late now. White's attack is far too advanced, and after g takes h6, Shiruzek simply resigned. Why did he resign here? Because the problem is after bishop f8, then simply knight g5 check. That forces the king to move, and then knight takes e6, hitting the queen, and then you have this attack right here on the knight. If bishop takes h6, white can simply play queen g5 here, forcing the exchange, and then of course the resulting pin. But even stronger is just castling here and just bringing this rook to g1. The last game from this era is from Cambridge Springs, 1904, the famous Cambridge Springs tournament. The white piece with the white pieces is Frank Marshall, and a longtime U.S. Chess champion, and with the black pieces is Harry Pillsbury. And I wanted to show you this game because I wanted to show you an example of white attacking on the king side while being castled over there at the same time. So game started off Austrian attack here. And we see Marshall just getting straight to the point, really aggressive. Instead of playing knight f3 first, anything, he just goes straight for the juggler and plays e5. D takes, f takes e5, and now knight d5. So Pillsbury's all right. He's did what he had to do. He's counterattacked in the center, traded off, and now he puts his knight on d5. So it's not bad. Knight f3, knight c6, and now bishop c4 with the attack on the knight. and now e6, which has the negative effect of blocking the c8 bishop in. Okay. Now one of the um, uh, collateral effects of this move, right? Besides blocking the this bishop in, is that it makes f6 hard to play, right? Because f6 can be useful perhaps later on to break down the white center. Remember, these are important moves because c5 is a good move to have later on too, but it's going to take more time because the knight is already blocking the c pawn. Okay, so these are kind of things that get you in trouble when you kind of like lose the thread on what's going on in the opening. So instead of a move like e6, knight b6 is a little better. Bishop b3, castles, right? Knight a5 going after the bishop pair. You see the difference? Knight e4, bishop is gone, a takes, and then you can play a move like f6. And e takes, knight c5, and this simply equalizes for black. Black is okay. Instead, he played e6, and now bishop g5, and now again, I'm not trying to go deep into these games, but even better here is just castling. But bishop g5 was played, knight c3, b takes c3, knight e7, and now Marshall castles, h6. Okay, and again, black has no way to challenge white's central advantage, so he just remains cramped. Bishop f6. Okay, and by this, Marshall allows his e5 pawn to be traded off, right? His strong point at e5. Right. So bishop takes, e takes, and now knight f5. Queen e2, and queen takes f6. So he enters into this pin, which of course Marshall has seen, and here's g4. So here's an example of the kingside attack being orchestrated while the king is castled on the king side. Pillsbury goes back to e7, and Marshall plays move bishop d3. He missed a tactic with bishop b5. I'm not gonna go into that. You can probably analyze that on your own. But Marshall just stays on point with the plan and focuses on the king side. Look how his pieces are just building up over here. It's a beautiful example of sticking with the game plan here. g6, and that when things are ripe, Marshall, who hardly missed anything tactically, just strikes, and Pillsbury tries to save the day, but he winds up getting mated to queen e5. Of course, I would have to throw a Bobby Fischer game in here, right? It was one of his favorite remedies, or his favorite remedy against the Pirc. This game is from the Blanca Memorial 1965 between Bobby Fischer with the white pieces and Francisco Jose Perez with the black pieces. So here it is, Fischer playing the Austrian attack, bishop g7, knight f3, castle, bishop d3, knight c6, and Fischer plays e5, d takes, f takes, and knight d5. Fischer takes and plays c3, and you can see that he solidifies his center. All right, and with the pawns pointed towards the king side and the f file open, right, and his bishop on d3 pointing that way. All right, it should let you know and indicates the attack on the king side is white's main plan. Bishop g4 and queen e2. Again, speaking of vigorous counterattacks, f6 is definitely a move that probably has to be played even at this point. While the king is still in the middle here, and play can continue. E takes, then castle. So bishop g4 was played, Fischer played queen e2, rook a d8, and now bishop e4, queen d7, h3, bishop goes back, castle, bishop d5. And what I see here is black played pretty solid, but he didn't get enough counterplay in this game. He kind of played a little bit too slowly. So here's this idea of attacking on the queen side with b5. Fischer just merely just fortifies the center. a6 again, super slow. b3. Knight a5. Again, nothing going on there. And now e6. The king side assault begins. Rook c8. E takes f7. Rook takes f7 check. Knight g5. Going to the e6 square. So rook f6 is played. Rook de1. b4. Trying to exploit d4. Fischer sees far ahead and plays knight e6. B takes c3. Knight takes g7. And this is just a simple win of the exchange here. King h2. So therefore, if king takes, g7 here, then this simple moves like bishop e5 win, queen takes e7, and the game is over. So real simple, decisive win on the king side by Fischer. Our final game would be a more modern game. It took place in 2011 at the King's Tournament between Grandmaster Sergei Karyakin with the white pieces and Vasily Ivanchuk with the black pieces. To show you that the plans work, right? No matter what period in history it is. So we have our same opening: bishop g7, knight f3, castle, bishop d3, and of course, with time, there's more refinements, in theory and such, but the general ideas are still the same. Knight a6. All right, what's the idea between knight a6? Well, that's to facilitate this move, c5. Again, the spirit of the opening with black is to address the aggressive posture of the white center. Right, you have to attack vigorously with black, like immediately. So knight a6 is the idea of playing c5 immediately, as quick as possible, to attack the center. So there it is, c5, d5, and knight c7. Okay, now you have these Benoni type ideas now with a6, b5, b4, etc. Again, still attacking the center. e6, right, vigorous attack, because now you have knight on c7 and knight on f6, both with pressure here, so it makes sense to play moves like f6. And again, keep white off balance, right, by attacking his center, so he doesn't have time to conduct the king side attack. Meanwhile, white is trying to stabilize his center so that he can just have the space advantage, and then he can leave that center intact and then go and attack on the king side. So that's what you see is these battle of ideas. So a4 is played as a prophylaxis to stop expansions and any type of sacrificial lines on the queen side by black. For instance, just b5, playing the spirit of Benko Gambit and distracting the white pieces from the defense at e4. b6 is played, queen e1, with the idea of transferring to h4 at some point. e6. So again, Ivanchuk keeps attacking the center. This forces the white's hand here. So d takes e6, f takes e6, and now e5. Knight f d5, knight e4. He doesn't want to trade pieces, but he wants to attack. And notice he's threatening this d6 square. D takes e5, f takes e5, and there's a little bit of problems here because, again, it's a strong outpost for the knight. Bishop b7, bishop g5. So even with the center slightly diminished, the pawn on e5 gives white a strong base for attack against black. And you can see black having some trouble here. Queen h4, and notice where Karyakin's pieces are all built up on the queen side, on the king side rather. Knight b4, rook a d1, queen c6, and now let the fireworks begin. Knight f6, checked by Karyakin. Bishop takes f6, bishop takes g6. Very strong move. H takes g6. Now bishop takes f6. Rook takes, e takes, rook f8, and now queen g5, and the game is over. Vanchuk was forced to resign. For example, after queen g5, if king h7, then simply knight h4, attacking this pawn on a g6, rook g8, f7. Rook is overworked. And then after queen g5, if king f7, then black walks right into a fork after knight e5 check. Okay, so that'll do it. Those games hopefully illustrate the basic ideas and spirit of the Austrian attack. You didn't see one game where white wind up attacking on the queen side at all, and this is probably the first game you saw where white even took the time to play a prophylactic move on the queen side, a4. So not that it doesn't happen, but just know that generally the plans for white here are to erect a strong center, right, with d4, e4, and f4. Develop the pieces rapidly with knight f3, bishop d3, and castle, right? Generally, although you saw a few games where white decided not to castle or play bishop e2, but just know these are your general ideas: bishop d3 and castle, as you see here, Karyakin playing, and then white wants to play e5 at some point. And you can see, even though Avanchuk vigorously counterattacked the center with c5, d5, d5, etc., like that, and eventually that move 12, that move e5 was played. Okay, and what happens at the e5? The attack on the king side. So that's basically the plan. So go out there, play some blitz chess, and practice with this opening, and take this simple plan and go get some scalps out there. All right, so that is it for this video on the Austrian attack of the Pirc Defense. Please check my links below. Please donate and support my channel, and also check the links for DVDs or books related to the opening that you see on the board today, which is the Pirc Defense. And I'll see you guys on the next video.